Turtle Logic and the University of Life, Chapter 1, Part 2. "What is that?" I asked as we crested the top of a large hill that looked over the landscape. Alfred paused and took a deep breath. "That," he said, in a most confident and reassuring voice, "is the biological dream." What I saw was a towering cloud full of color ascending into the sky. It was huge and had glowing bursts of yellow, blues, and greens flowing up from inside. It floated effortlessly like a giant bubble bouncing in the breeze, filling the heavens and looming larger and larger as we approached. Its warm colors drew me in. It pulled at me, like a magnet it seemed, compelling me to walk faster and faster into the underside of its towering, reflective shimmer. The cloud mushroomed upward, as if spreading its arms in a warm embrace of the clear blue sky above. I walked on towards it with the turtle guiding the way. "This is the biological dream," Alfred said as we approached. "More accurately, this is your biological dream." I stopped and looked up at the magnificent formation. I could hardly believe my eyes. It was at the rim of the bubble. I was at the rim of the bubble and stood quietly at the ridge of its outer shell. I poked at it inquisitively with my finger, and it stuck like a soap bubble to my skin. It just floated there, slowly moving up and down, seeming to invite me in. "Do you want to go inside?" the turtle said. "Yes, I'd like to go in." And with little delay, we proceeded to walk inside the bubble through its transparent skin. I stopped as I entered, paused for a moment, and started to cry. I just stood there as a rush of emotion rolled over my body. It was like all the warmth and pride of my childhood came rushing in all at once. I had this incredible feeling, like I was somehow home. It seemed that inside these thin, transparent walls were all the dreams I had ever held dear. It was as if I was a newborn baby and was surrounded by all the loving family I had ever known, cradled in the familiar embrace of a heavenly acceptance, as if being held there by the hands of God himself. "Is this heaven?" I asked. "Not exactly. This, my friend, is your biological dream," the turtle said. "This is everything you think life should be. This is where you have always yearned to be. This is a place you have held in your heart all the days of your life. This is the peace that you seek. It is a peace that is very much alive, as you can see. This is the peace that you constantly walk through earth hoping to find." "So is this a dream? What do you mean?" The turtle looked at me, sat me down on a mossy knoll, and proceeded to pull up a rock for himself. "Would you like me to explain it to you?" he asked, with a slight grin and a laugh. "Yeah, please tell me all about this place," I said. "Okay, it's like this," and he went on. "Before you and every human is born, your DNA contains specific instructions about how your bodies and brains are to be formed. It is really quite fascinating," he went on. "Your brain structure is designed to develop in and live in a particular environment. It is as though humans are all born with an appointment for a particular kind of community. This is what I call the biological dream, and your biological dream is what you see all around you right now. The biological dream is a set of conditions in your heart. They are conditions that are pre-wired from before you are born, and ones that you come into this life searching to find. Once these conditions are met, the biological dream can be realized. If you look inside your heart, you may notice that you have been searching for them all of your life. Look up, look around. The power of the biological dream is all around you." "So I just kept searching?" I asked the turtle. "Yes," he said. "If you look back into your life, you will notice it. You will see the dreams you had as a child and how they went unrealized as you grew. You will be reminded, if you just clear your mind a little, of a warm, accepting love you once held in your heart, a feeling that lived within your soul as a child. Can you sense this?" "Yeah, I can," I replied. "I can sense them. They are faint, but I can feel them. I've always sensed that something was once there and is now missing. Is that it?" I said. The turtle looked at me, took a deep breath, and began. "There are 5 basic parts to the biological dream you see unfolding before you. These are the requirements or conditions that are needed to fulfill the biological dream." "Well, let me explain," the turtle said. Alfred paused as if to invite my curiosity, but that wasn't really needed at that point. I was very curious. I wanted to know all about this beautiful place called the biological dream, so I looked at him and expressed with an inviting gesture to continue. He then began to speak once again. "Do you see those warm patches of color, the yellows, the blues, the greens floating up through the cloud?" I looked up from my rocky seat, and there were bright, vibrant layers of colors floating one on top of another. They lightly touched each other and seemed to have a definite priority, a sequence they shared with mutual respect, bouncing in places if being held there by some invisible force. Those, Alfred continued, are the conditions of the biological dream. Those are the different parts of the dream that hold it all together. And the first condition I want to tell you about is that of safety. You see, it goes like this. At the base of your human brain is an important structure. The reptilian brain is this, I'll call this the reptilian brain for now. The reptilian brain is designed for survival. This part of us, humans and turtles alike, is prepared for emergencies and desires what I call safety. That's the cool yellow color you see there at the base of the rising shapes. It's the foundation of all the other aspects floating there. I like to think of this yellow base as safety, and it is best experienced in humans as being relaxed, having low blood pressure, and often comes out as a lot of playing and nurturing and creative behaviors in you. Safety is also seen as an absence of fleeing, freezing, submitting, and fighting behaviors as well. The human brain is designed for safety. You see, this is not optional. As a human, you must have it. Thus, in your lives, you expect it and seek out safe places to be. Live and share yourself with others. As a human, you just want to feel safe, and this need for safety is hardwired into every cell in your body. Now, the next bubble there, floating above safety, I call reliable membership. Now, that's the big blue pocket of color you see up in the bubble. Now, this aspect of the human dream holds some of your deepest human desires. It exists in the middle part of your brain. Evolutionary, this is the second most important part of the structure you see there. This is in your mammalian brain. While it has many functions, one is very critical to all of this. You see, as a mammal yourself, you may understand the concept better than I in your heart. Mammals are herd animals. You guys like to live in packs. You need to live in communities of your own kind to survive. Separations from your home community will trigger fear of death and thus trigger your lower reptilian brain survival drive. The impulse of staying together, coming together, for attaching and forming secure attachments to others, for living together forever comes from this part of your brain. No wonder humans join up so much. Your brains are not designed to live alone. So you seek reliable communities. Again, thus this is not optional. You are born with this requirement, and therefore must seek it out in your life. It is a major requirement to fulfill the biological dream. Just look up. See how much space the blue of reliable membership takes up in the biological dream? It's essential to you. Wow, I said back. The glow of the shapes floating above me was intense. I could feel the warmth. It was like a dream I once had, a feeling I once felt where I was in heaven, like I was home with the greatest of family and friends. The ascending levels of color seemed to vibrate more and more as we spoke. It was almost as if the colors floating above me were listening in on our conversation, as if they knew Alfred was speaking about them, almost as if they were alive. Next, Alfred went on, we see diversity. Now, this aspect is in the upper part of your biological dream, and it lives in the upper part of your human brain as well. In technical terms, this is known as the cortical structures. It is so complex and so variable that the differences between ways of seeing the world become a major issue with this part of the brain. When you are a small child, you sense that everyone sees everything differently. This awareness can be a source of fear. Thus, children need to seek comfort in their sense of being different from all others. This situation leads to seeking safe, reliable relationships where differences are completely acceptable. This is hardwired as well. Now, the fourth stage is that of autonomy, Alfred continued. Again, located in the upper part of the brain, it mediates between the world of experiences and the world of actions. Humans do not react. Humans observe, process those observations, and then choose actions. Human actions are determined within the individual and are not externally determined. Humans never do what they are told. You do what you choose when you are told. It seems to me that you are not designed for obedience, and seems to me that you are naturally self-determining. And this, I believe, leads you to seek a community that encourages your self-choosing. This is also hardwired. Now, finally, we see the last part of the structure rising up there way, way, way at the top. This highest part is called purpose. Purpose is a bit more difficult to explain, partly because it leads into the spiritual, but I'll say it in two ways. As Alfred scratches leather-like forehead, I could tell even he was still working on this one. He went on. Every human has potential. Your great philosopher Mallow spoke of self-actualization. Your great philosopher Frankl spoke of meaning. The way I see it, from my perspective as a turtle, is that all of you humans are born as geniuses at something. No two of you are identical nor carry the identical genius. So when you act out your genius, two things happen. First, you feel an abiding sense of purpose or meaning. And second, by virtue of the fact that you are acting out of your genius, you are very productive back to your community. This potential, this purpose, is your reason for being alive. It takes a very supportive community to help you grow the seeds of your genius to maturity. The drive towards this genius leads you to seek a community that cares about nurturing your wholeness and your needs, your gifts. This also, my friend, is hardwired. I looked up at the highest point inside the bubble. I think I was starting to understand the turtle. The colors seemed to mushroom upward. Within them, there were these 5 conditions, all right, my internal reasons for living, as he called them. These are the dreams I have been holding in my heart that are yet to be realized, the ones I carry around with me every day. I felt the warmth. It came from inside the dream, and it was a wonderful feeling. This is incredible, I said. The turtle just looked at me with those big, round, dark eyes and said, "This is just the beginning of your journey down the path. There is much more to see and learn here. If you like, I will continue to tell you what I know." "Yes, please continue," I said. And then the turtle continued. These 5 aspects have a built-in priority. First comes safety. Without that, nothing works. Next come reliable memberships, without which you cannot get into deep committed and cannot connect your different selves to others in an intimate relationship. Next comes your requirement for diversity and autonomy. And lastly, through safety, reliable membership, diversity, and autonomy emerges your purpose, which leads to the full development of integrity in yourself and in your relationships and in your quest to realize your biological dream. The turtle went on. Deeply buried in your internal structures before you learn anything about the outside world lives these needs. You do not have to be taught to have these needs any more than you need to be taught to eat. They are simply there, and you will be looking for them in every day of your life. The turtle paused and looked at me intensely with his dark, big green eyes glowing in the filtered light. Now, this brings us to the subject of relationships. You see, it is through the relationships in your life that the dream can be realized. I inquisitively looked at the turtle, tilting my head to one side. "What do you mean?" I said. "It goes like this. When humans fall in love, watch out. That's when the expectation and fulfillment of these needs becomes fully active, and as a human, you guys get very excited about this. You see, deep inside, when you meet that special someone, you humans think you are about to have it all." Alfred stood up, stretched his round back, and raised his hand into the air and pointed towards a large rock cropping out in the distance. I couldn't tell if this outcropping was inside or outside the bubble of my biological dream, but he was pointing to it just the same. On the other side of that outcropping at the foot of the next hill, I could just barely make out the shape of a little split-level brick house. It wasn't just any house. It was my house. I remember it well. I grew up there. It was a miniature version of the house I grew up in, just sitting there in the weeds and underbrush, a detailed replica of the home that I once held so dear. "Come on," Alfred said. "Let's walk this way." And we headed towards the little brick house. There's still a lot to learn about this place, about the biological dream of yours. Right now I'm going to tell you a little bit about something I call the Homestyle Relationship. And Alfred went on. Now, human children grow up experiencing many relationships in their world, with all the ups and downs life has to offer. Life with mom and dad, or whoever filled that position, can be difficult. It's one filled with rules and regulations, and depending on your family, they can be very specific ways of doing things that one needs to pay attention to in order to fit in. I like to refer to these experiences you humans go through as the Homestyle Relationship. Now, this learning and experience is all about how your parents relate to you. It's how you relate to your parents. It's how they relate to each other and how parents relate to others outside of your home. Some of you come out of your childhood wanting a relationship just like your mom and dad's. Some don't. But one thing is for sure. You are all very familiar with the ins and outs of those relationships, no matter how good or bad they might have been. It's this knowledge that you use to base what you will do in all the relationships you will ever have. Alfred continued to speak as we walked through the many green leafy trees and vibrant flowers that lined the path inside the biological dream. Closer and closer we seemed to walk towards the little brick house by the rocks in the distance. So, now let's compare the intention of the biological dream that we see all around us with the experiences of the homestyle relationship. There's a conflict there, and it is in this conflict that compels all humans to eventually leave the traditional family and seek out their own destiny, a destiny that may someday be filled by the promise of the biological dream. You see, most parents are interested in controlling their children as well as each other. Thus, they do not create a lizard brain safe home. Rather, they use the threat of fear as a way of achieving that control. Children obey because it is not safe to appear to do otherwise. Just check out these effects here. Alfred then pulled out a piece of paper, a chart from somewhere behind his back of his shell. He handed it to me and went on to explain the information found in a most energetic way. Here is a summary, he explained as he handed me this paper with all this stuff written on it. The traditional or home-style family relationship does not match well with the biological dream. Human parents, and I do believe generally that most parents are trying to do the very best, often do an incredibly poor job. No one helps or teaches or guides them. All you poor little human children are not taught to understand your own needs. The biological dream is a deep physical reality with almost no awareness in the traditional family setup. Alfred then raised his middle finger. It was a short little finger with a thick worn claw at the end of it. He then pointed it at me and he said, "At this point, you may be wondering about love. What does the act of falling in love have to do with any of this, huh?" That was true. I was wondering what love had to do with all of this. I mean, it's obvious that love is a driving emotion in everyone's life, but how exactly did it fit into this puzzle of the biological dream? Well, all humans fall in love. As humans fall in love, they bring forth both their unfulfilled biological dream aspirations and their experiences learned in the traditional family setting. Since romantic love is such a deep process, it's easy to see how active the biological dream is within it. You dream you will be safe and relaxed together with your new love, leaving the maddening crowds behind and making a safe haven for just the two of you. That brings out the condition of safety. You dream you will live as one, till death do you part. That's reliable membership. You dream that you will really understand each other, that your relationship will be full of intimacy, and that you will each have respect for your differences. That's diversity. You dream that you will never order each other around and that you will accept each other for who you are. That's autonomy. You dream that you will help each other reach the stars and that your individual genius will be accepted for what it is, that you will be able to use that genius in your life. That's the fulfillment of purpose. These aspirations are pretty universal because as humans, you all have these needs hardwired into each of you. Because of this, you all aspire to live in this wonderful condition I call the biological dream. You see, there's quite a struggle between the assertions of the biological dream and the experiences of the traditional family. These differences, it turns out, tend to produce an inner conflict because of the fact that they are evolved from two very different places. One comes from the soul, while the other comes from the culture. The homestyle relationship is full of learned skills, while the biological dream has none. The biological dream has nothing learned because it is simply there. A skill is a behavior that, when you do it first, is hard. When you do it the 50th time is easier. When you do it the 500th time, it's automatic. The training of the homestyle relationship is full of these learned skills. For example, the habit to get angry when you don't get what you want is learned at home. The tendency when ordered to cower, submit, or resent also comes from there. Hundreds of skills are taught during your childhood years, and when you join into a relationship, as most every one of you humans eventually do, you bring these traditional learned skills with you. However, unless you were raised by people to whom the biological dream is a reality, you probably have no idea of how to find it. You probably have no idea of how to find safety, reliable membership, autonomy, diversity, and your purpose. Yet it is a powerful dream you hold near to your heart at some level. Most of the time it is buried deep inside, yearning to be realized. It is a powerful force, whether conscious or unconscious, that prepares your human soul to seek it out. Now, you may not even know what you are seeking. You only know that it is missing and that it must be out there somewhere. It just sits in your heart as an unfulfilled dream, as something that is missing in your life and something that you very much want to find. I stood there for a moment. I knew that he was referring to the emptiness I felt in my own heart. He was referring to the deep loneliness I had carried with me every day. I didn't know just where it came from, but it was there, tugging at me like a ball and chain, dangling from my emotional body as I attempted to walk through my life. So what does all this do to me and to my life, I asked. Well, this imbalance, the turtle continued, in training is a great source of trouble and is the main source of trouble during the power struggle so commonly experienced in romantic relationships, when two of you come together to share your lives with each other. You are both looking for the same thing. You are both looking for the biological dream. But the old learned skills get in the way. This imbalance I speak of is a main source of trouble between couples. When things aren't going right, members of a couple tend to use skills learned from childhood to try to obtain the promise of the biological dream. Sadly, these homestyle skills are seldom capable of doing this, and the lack of proper skills earns nothing but distance, dismay, hatred, and solitude. This is not why you are here. Is this not why you are here? There was silence at this point. The turtle was right. That was why I was there. The cool breeze flowed as the cover started to fade. The sunny sky above started to shine through. The clouds were building once again. I could see that it was soon be time to move on. The turtle beckoned me. We have places to go. This way, the turtle gestured, and with one hand, and I followed.